Hi guys, welcome to another episode. Today I'm talking with the CEO and founder of Raw Royal Jelly. Hi Magnus, how are you doing?
Doing good, Andreas. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Oh, thank you for joining me for this episode. So, tell me a little bit about yourself, about your story. What inspired you and motivated you to get into, creating Raw Royal Jelly in the first place?
Yeah, good question. I mean, to take it a better big, I think it was maybe like a year ago. I was more into like the holistic health kind of living. So, seeing the sunset, taking some cold showers, do some grounding. I was really got into that kind of space where my interest in just natural living came more something I really like also preach, but also something I was actually implementing in my daily life. So I guess it kind of like started with just an interest in overall health and been dealing with my own health stuff, just following the norms in terms of what normal people eat and what normal people think. So it was like a natural transition. But how I just to make the story a bit shorter, how I came up with the royal jelly is because I want to buy some raw honey from the honeycomb from like an old lady. So I actually found like an old lady selling the raw honey in the honeycomb on Facebook Marketplace. So I ended up visiting her in her little like summer house or something like that, and she just talked about like all the honey and all the benefits. And to me, she seemed like a very vibrant person. So some older people, they have like that glow in their eyes, more like a still like have that life force in their spirit. So I really felt that in her, and she really like intrigued me about the royal jelly. She called it jelly royale. It's also like a name, or you can also call it the bee milk. But she didn't really sell it because the whole process of actually harvesting the royal jelly, you need some special equipment to not kill the larvae. And yeah, like if you want to get like a decent amount of it, you have to have it like a huge beehive. And she only had like a for herself kind of. So I ended up buying the honey from her, of course I was still intrigued about the royal jelly. So I tried to Google royal jelly where I can get this stuff from,
Yeah,
and I really tried to find like something in a good quality, like in the raw form, but I couldn't really like find anything because either was like in a pill or like in a capsule, where obviously it's not as bioavailable. That's in the natural form. The life force is not really there. So I ended up finding like a local bee farmer here in Denmark selling the raw royal jelly, but I had to buy like a kilo as the minimum, which is kind of like a lot for this. So you only need like, as we're selling, around 50 to 100 grams in the start. So I ended up buying like a kilo for a good amount for me at that time. And I took it for like I think two weeks, and I already felt like pretty noticeable, like you can say like effects of it. Obviously, there's some parameters. It's hard to say directly what it is, but I definitely feel an increase in libido through the enzymes, and also just the overall energy. So I also tried to not drink caffeine while I took the royal jelly, and I just had more overall like a steady state of flow of energy. So yeah, and then after I took it for like the 2 weeks, I still had almost like a kilo left, because we only recommend to take 100 milligrams a day. So it's
yeah.
it's just I think I took maybe like 50 grams in that period, and just started trying to sell it to some friends, trying to plug them on the royal jelly, but I didn't really understand what it is, and I didn't really want to sell it to them because I thought it was a bit weird because when money gets involved, and I just tried to sell it super cheap for them. But it wasn't really interesting. I guess there wasn't really like the customer we really want to target. So then I ended up using Twitter a lot, and just talking about the benefits of royal jelly and some other health topics. And yeah, people got interested in the royal jelly and stuff like that. And people asking me, where can you get this royal jelly? So I actually started just telling about it on Twitter, or X now, and just getting the ball rolling from there. Sold through my DM kind of just privately, and then now made a website and kind of started from there. And here we are now. Yeah.
Cool, cool. Thank you for sharing your story. Yeah, it's for sure like really interesting and very inspiring, the story with the old lady. And so what was it exactly like? What was the thing that led you towards the royal jelly exactly, instead of like
Yeah.
any other parts of the all the bee produce that the bee actually produces? Because of course you could take, bee pollen, or you could take the honeycomb or the bee bread. And you said already that you were buying the raw honey. So what
Yeah.
was specifically in the raw jelly that like intrigued you?
Yeah. I would say I've been taking like bee pollen as well, also fermented bee pollen, also called propolis, another bee product, and also raw honey I've been taking with my meals and raw milk and all these things. But I think it was just for me when people got interested in it, because I was like the perfect customer for my own brand. You know, I was looking for something that can provide the best royal jelly, like the purest form. So
Right.
to me, it felt like there was also many people in need of this product, because obviously I'm not inventing the deep plate. It's not a new product I'm developing. I'm just
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
serving it, and then also spreading the message about the
Yes.
benefits
Yes.
of royal jelly.
Yes.
So I think it was just like kind of like a coincidence. It was actually the royal jelly. There is many brands, you know, selling bee pollen and propolis and all these things, and
Yeah.
so I think it was honestly because there was like a real need, especially in the community I'm kind of in. You know, the health space we are
Uh-huh.
really are always interested in just trying new stuff, natural things. You know, so
Yeah.
it came just like kind of like synchronicity over the royal jelly.
Yeah, it was almost like a divine timing, right? Like almost like the universe guided you towards this path.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. So did you, before you founded Raw Royal Jelly, did you
Mm.
do anything else? Is like, are you just working as an entrepreneur? What is your profession?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really like educated about the health stuff. I just read stuff on the internet and trying to be like my own rabbit. You can say like to test everything on myself. I worked before in like a fashion kind of like industry, so working
Mhm.
for fashion brands and stuff like that, and really still very passionate about like clothing and all these things, and also now actually developing some of my own stuff. This shirt I have on is, for example, also one of my designs. So yeah,
Yes, cool.
my background is a bit more related to the fashion space, but I always have a big interest in just optimization overall, but more so in a natural way. I'm not really too big on, you can say, chemical stuff, because I feel on my own body I've been experimenting with a lot of different supplements before, but I
Mhm.
feel always like the simplest things and the natural thing is always like what actually going to last and also works the best.
Yeah, with the least side effects.
Exactly, yeah, exactly that.
So let me take you all the way back to how it started, your story in general, because you said you started getting interested in holistic health, right? And the same for me. I started getting interested in holistic health around 7 to 8 years ago. That is when I met my partner Tina, and she was more into holistic living, and she knew more about herbs and all of these natural supplements, whereas I was more of a conventional bro bodybuilder, with all the synthetic supplements, and didn't know much about this,
Yeah.
holistic health space, about, the importance of light, the importance of, minimizing the chemical exposure in your environment, your electromagnetic field exposure, and all of this. And basically, I noticed that actually how much my body was suffering once I started switching to more natural approach, because I only realized how crap I felt until I started feeling better. Because you see,
Yeah.
you can get away in a moment in life when you're young until a certain point, maybe until you're 30, 35, 40 even, you can maybe get away with doing some things which are suboptimal for
Yeah.
your body and your hormones and your lymphatic system, immune system, and all of this stuff. But afterwards, you're going to hit a wall, and it's nice to come to that realization earlier on in life before you actually have to heal yourself, but actually to optimize yourself. And this is exactly what you are doing, right? Maybe you didn't necessarily hit a wall where you were like completely knocked out, but you just cared about. You noticed that certain things made you feel good, and you more leaned towards those things. Am I right saying that, or did you
100%.
have some health struggles that actually led you down this rabbit hole?
I think there was definitely like a trigger in me, because I always played like soccer or football at a high level since I was like a little kid, as most kids been doing. So I was also always a very active guy, and I played on a very high level until I was like 17. Um, and when I was not playing football anymore, I was still want to be active. So of course, as any other guy that just wants to build some muscle, going to the gym, doing
Yeah.
the traditional kind of row split or whatever. And I could just feel like my body didn't function pretty good after just like 1 2 years. I can actually feel I get some lower back pains, neck pains, and
Mm-hmm. And how old were you
all
when
these
you
things.
noticed?
I think I was around 18, 19 when I
That's
kind of like
crazy.
my body deteriorated actually. And it wasn't like I couldn't like do anything, but I was always super athletic, so my baseline was also very high.
Yeah.
So it came down to me, my overall structure, my overall mechanics, my posture just had a very bad suffering. So I was just at a point where I had to kind of like stop what I was doing with the whole with the weights and all these things, and just kind of build my body back up. So I got a lot into like the biomechanic stuff, trying to fix my posture, the fascia release, and all these things. And it took such a long time for me to really like get my body open again, so I can actually start building strength in the right ways. Because yeah, I think it's super relevant how you actually build your body up, how you build your muscle. Like you can build it superficially just with bench press and squat, which is good to some extent to
Yes.
use the power. But I would say if you do it like in a natural way, if you play like a natural sport, a lot of rotations, all these things, sprinting, for example, is like an apex example. But I could just feel like my body was not there. So intuitively, yeah, again, I just researched on my own what I had to do and kind of just build it up from there. It took a long time, a lot of research, a lot of trial and error, a lot of frustrations, because I feel sometimes you feel stagnant what you're doing, right? But now I can really feel the benefits what the base I've been building on.
Yes. So, for example, from all of those things that you were doing that actually got you out of that position, which things do you believe had the most impact?
Oh, it's a good question. I actually think it is to be able to try and do things that you think is the right thing, because no one guided me to tell me, oh, you need to do this course about how to release the TFL, the hips,
Yeah.
or like you're stuck in like more like a hip front chain dominant pattern, or like how you use your glutes when you run, are you quad dominant, how you use everything, how your posture is, how it affects your mood and everything. So honestly, I think it's more like on a spiritual level, like a metaphysical level. I feel like it's important to kind of stand up for yourself, like what you think is the right thing for you, and go down that path. Because now I see guys my age, they're still young guys, but you can just see they're eating not good food, they're not taking care of themselves, and they can look
Yeah.
strong from the outside, but you can see like from the inside they're not healthy. There's something like
Yeah.
there's a mixed match. And you can kind of cover it when you're like young, but as you said again, when you're getting older, it's harder to cover these. You can see like maybe not the most optimal way of doing the things.
Exactly. It's going to catch up to you at some point, and then you're going to have to stop doing what you love, right? So, if
Yeah,
you want to continue doing what you love for the rest of your life, you have to make sure that number one, you are doing it in a healthy manner and you're being realistic with how much you're pushing yourself. And number two is to make sure that outside of what you love, you have to also do the maintenance work and to take care, right? Where our body is just not simply a machine that just turns on and off and just keeps on going. You have to service it often, and that happens on a daily basis and even on an hourly basis, depending on like what we're talking about. If we're talking hourly, we can talk about nutrition. If we talk about daily, we can talk about circadian rhythms, you know. And if we talk, seasonally, what's happening, what type of food you should be eating, every season and all of this stuff. So all of this is contributing towards the health of the individual and is bringing together like the whole holistic package and the whole approach. So I guess what I meant was with my question that I asked you was like, which modality of things did you think had the most impact? Meaning like, was it like sauna? Was it ice baths? Was it like, red light, sunlight? Was it an animal-based diet? Or, from all of those things that you probably know better because I don't know all the things that you've done,
yeah.
which things did you find that were the ones that have stuck until this day? You have carried on doing them, and which ones have you kind of discarded or left behind and were kind of like a bit overhyped?
Oh, there's so many things, right? I would say that honestly, the biggest thing for me is the movement part. There's been times where my diet wasn't optimal, you know. I wasn't eating the right foods for my body to fuel myself. But I would say still it was the movement part that was the big movement leader of everything. Yes, of course, also going to the sauna sometimes, and all these things, and seeing the sun and grounding definitely also helps a lot. But from my perspective, what I can see, if I have to put like the biggest investment in the thing, was actually just to be able to move better. I think that was like, yeah, really the biggest one. It's a bit more complex just to say move better. What does it mean? But I feel for me that was like what really made the change. And then all the other things, I got more interested in the red light therapy. Here based in Denmark, so it's pretty dark most of the year.
Yeah.
So having a red light therapy definitely helps with the circadian rhythm.
Absolutely.
Also ice baths, because then we secrete the light from the inside when we don't have the sun, which is also very good.
Yes.
So I would say all these things help, but I would say though, like the movement part is like it's always be like the cornerstone in my opinion.
Cool. And what type of things did you do to improve your like movement capability and your like resilience and your, let's say, your movement library in a way, right? Because in a way, if you think about the brain is almost like a map, and the muscle is like literally like the road map, and the nerves are like literally going to all of the muscles. And when we are doing specific movement patterns, our tissue, like our muscle, is the software, right? And we can program that software via our muscles talking to the brain, and it can have like a positive feedback loop through repetition. So what are some of the things that you did that actually helped you to rewire your brain and to talk to your muscles in a more healthy way to improve like, your movement patterns in general?
Good question. I think the first thing you have to do, which also took me the longest time, is you have to kind of like free the body again. So you have to release some trauma. So I spent a lot of time using like foam roller, PVC pipe, like crossball, like rolling out my fascia, which has been locked for so many years. So it took like almost like a half a year to just do the fascial stuff. And when I had less restrictions in my body, I started to move more three-dimensionally. So I've been doing a lot of like kind of like functional training with like medicine balls, throwing into the sides,
Nice.
a lot of, like sprinting, also a lot of landmine work. So I can integrate the whole like kind of like the gait kind of, and stuff like that.
Rotational movement training. Yeah.
Nice. Rotational stuff. Also just like sports, boxing, grappling. But these things came a bit after. But I would say just starting out slowly with the medicine ball things, throw it in a wall, maybe have a partner, help you like to throw it together. Just like very basic stuff where you also rotate.
Yes.
And it just feels good, you feel so like refreshed after because you get these natural twists in your core, in your trunk, in your hips. Like everything has to kind of move together.
Exactly. So you're teaching your body how to work together as a unit.
Yeah, and it just feels natural, right? When you get used to it, it's like, see so many guys in the gym, they just lift in one plane of motion where they just do like a bench press or like a row or pull up, which also, again, I'm not saying it's not bad, but if it's the only thing you're doing, you're not stimulating all the other things in the body.
Yeah, I love it, like how you put it in context, because that's so important, right? Like I hate it when I hear like fitness gurus when they bash other fitness modalities, because obviously we are also using those modalities, right? So it's kind of silly to like put them down when we are also utilizing them ourselves. I think that every single fitness and training modality has a time and place depending on the context and the individual scenario, right? And if someone, for example, is not able to do conventional lifting because they have back issues, and all they're able to do is, let's say, some functional work, then that's perfect, because maybe they don't even care about building muscle. They just care about being able to move well for the rest of their life. So everything has its time and place. And as you said, like with the medicine balls and all this other stuff, kettlebells, battle ropes, all this unconventional style training, steel maces, it feels abnormal at first because we haven't built, those neural connections. We haven't developed those paths. It's almost like a path of where does our hand and our spine position and transition. But the more we do that, the more we awaken movement patterns that we didn't know that was possible. And then the beautiful thing is that once you have a bigger movement library in your body and in your muscle, it's almost everything that you do is more automated. So the way that you walk is not as stiff. It's more like rotational, your spine is moving more fluid. You don't feel so tight throughout your whole body. So I wanted to touch a little bit on when you said about the trauma, when you're releasing trauma, did you mean physical or did you mean also emotional?
I think I still probably have a lot of trauma in my body. And I think as a man, you always kind of will. But I think, for example, just my neck, for example, when I was doing like this with my neck, my
Yeah.
whole life it's been cracking now, like here in the back, and now there's no cracking. And it took like maybe 2 years to kind of like undo that. But it just came through good movement and just good living, So just crazy to see that. I just thought it was normal for your neck to crack when you kind of rolled it, And then you realize it's like there's so many nerves and all these things in your whole body, but especially in like the neck area and the back of your head. There's so many stuff. So you can just imagine if I always been sitting like this in more like a how can you say, like kind of like fragile position my whole life, and now I'm like open to that new part where I can like kind of like express myself and have a better overall posture. It's like it gives a more like it gives you first of course more like you feel better in your body, but it also gives you like more confidence, in a way. So I think it goes hand in hand, right? Then you also get into other things and just the training about how the body works, and you understand how energy is working together. So yeah, it goes hand in hand if you really want to get into the things that also connects with the body. But I would say I also definitely had some more like anxiety and more like an anxious person before. Maybe also like the diet and all these things. But I think with also my body getting more like a parasympathetic state, when I'm just like chilling, it's able to chill. Before I was more like anxious and just I couldn't really chill, but now it's way different, So for sure there's a big connection. But I think it was the body I worked on first, and the mind kind of followed for me.
Yes, you see, like this is something that I always tell a lot of my clients as well, that the mind and body is inseparable, because you can literally through your own stressful response, like your own psychological stressful response in your body, you can tighten all the muscles in your body, right? You can be super stressed out and you can feel that your muscles are physically tightening. And that's because you are just raising your stress hormone so much, because your body doesn't know the difference between a physical stress and an emotional stress. Because if you can imagine in your mind that it's already happened, then it's already happened to your body, right? So your body's releasing those chemicals. And this is the power of, meditation and gratitude and manifesting and affirmations, is when you believe that something has already happened, you can, attract it into your life. But the difference is that with negative things, it's actually quicker to happen because our mind is programmed more towards negativity. And the majority of our thoughts are negative throughout the day. And that's like not necessarily a bad thing, because that's meant to be for survival, right? We are always looking out for threat. We are always looking out like what's wrong in our environment. Our species wants to survive and reproduce. So our body's designed that way. But the key is that we need to be able to be in control of ourselves, so that we can say to our brain and our soul that everything is okay, everything is good, and then therefore we can tap into that parasympathetic state. But as you said, that if you also have a tight body, that can also make you more anxious, because if your muscles are tight and your blood flow is constricted, because tight muscles don't accept blood flow well, which means that they don't get oxygen and means that they don't get nutrients. So also your lymphatic system doesn't flow well around the body either. So that means that the immune system is not working optimally. So all of this alone is putting a massive stress on your body, right? So if that's placing extra stress, that's going to raise your heart rate. That's going to make you feel more anxious. It's going to make you feel like you're out of control of your breath. And that's impacting you on a psychological level. So you can totally see how it has this intertwined relationship, that we don't only need to take care of our body, but we also need to take care of our mind, and also vice versa.
Yeah, 100%. But I also think it's what you said about when you're moving good, it also follows in the blood flow and everything. But I also think a big part of it is like when you know all these things about how you move, you can also conceptualize a lot of the principles, maybe a bit too much. But I think the biggest thing is that yes, anxiety is a big thing in people's life, but you also have to kind of like deserve, or like you like to be chill. You have to kind of like deserve it. You have to use your body, and then like you wouldn't think about like all these things. You just be like a chill guy, because you kind of like use your energy in a good way, use your body in a good way.
Yes, I understand exactly what you mean. For example, I feel really good when I do sauna. Like, yeah, let's say if I'm super stressed out and then I do sauna and then I do an ice bath, afterwards all my thoughts have disappeared, my mind is clear, and I feel golden. So I can totally see what you mean, right? Because the body is a beautiful way to access the mind, because many times it's hard to access the body. I mean the brain, sorry. So that means that it's actually easier to do things that make you feel good. And then eventually you have probably, because a lot of the things in our body that trigger psychological or emotional responses could be related to toxins or heavy metals or bad detox. So actually when we are able to detoxify, we feel less grumpy, we feel less irritable, we feel like we have more energy, and therefore we can see life more optimistically as well.
For sure, but I also just think in a very primal way, like humans are pretty high up in the hierarchy, right? In the food chain, and also all like the hunter animals, like a lion, for example, they chill out the whole day, kind of just roaming around,
Yeah.
sleeping in the sun. But when they hunt, they really hunt. There's not like in between. And nowadays you can still go to the gym, right? And you can still be on your phone, so you're not
uh,
really like training. But that's
yes,
why I
yes.
always prefer to say, okay, let's say you have like a basketball player, for example. I think these guys are actually, I noticed that like they're very chill guys, like the top athlete. You have they can be a killer on the pitch, like a football player or tennis player. They can be like a demon kind of. But when they're outside the pitch, they're like these like very friendly beings. But I think it's because they kind of deserve that space because they've really like been
Yeah.
exhausting the body. I think sometimes you
Mhm.
really have to exhaust and use the body, like push it to get that kind of like natural
Yeah.
feeling after.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That's really well said. And yeah, I think that that's so true, because when you train, right, what are you showing to your body? That this is the time for us to be in a sympathetic drive. This is the time to be in a sympathetic state, and you want that during training. And then afterwards, the beautiful thing is about training. The harder the training, when the training is done, the body can see that when the training is ended, because now you are not doing the hard thing, so now it can come back to baseline. But individuals who don't exercise, or who never push
Yeah,
themselves and have a very stressful life, they are constantly in this medium stress state, which is
exactly.
what kills, because it can go undetected, and it's all the time this little bit stress, but you're never having that variability in a high stress and then low stress. And that's literally what we would encounter, if we were living as hunter gatherers, right? We would have low stress for long periods of time and a little bit high stress for a moment of time, whether that is hunting, fighting a threat, or hunting. And then afterwards, the rest of the time we would be totally chill with our environment. But that also goes with the fact that our environment has changed so much now, our modern environment, which keeps us automatically more in a sympathetic state, unfortunately, even
Absolutely.
when we have ended our training. So this is why it's so important to take care of, our lighting in our house, the sound that comes in, for example. Is it like quiet at night when you sleep? Is it dark in your room? Like the timing of your eating, all of this stuff, it's contributing to whether you are going to be in a parasympathetic state when you should be, or are you going to stay in that sympathetic drive? And if you drink coffee as well at the wrong time of the day, or too much coffee, or too many stimulants in general,
Mhm.
then you're going to find yourself burnt out, which is a lot of people are finding themselves these days.
Yeah, and you can definitely feel it in the zeitgeist of people. I think just younger people, like you can see just like how the posture. Younger guys, even I have some siblings. I can see them like even though it's like they look tall, actually like the girls as well and the boys, but just the overall structure of the body, it just looks like something isn't really there. There's something is missing. And it's kind of like tough to say it like that. But I just think it's super like detriment to just like the state of the world, because these people, they don't really know how it is to live without like a smartphone, because these people that are, let's say, 15 or 16, they haven't lived without the iPad. That's the
Yeah,
generation that grew up with all the technology.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yes, you can maybe not see it right now, like the effects of that, but you have to think about these people have to carry the world, you know and to be so disconnected, I think it's going to be a detriment. So it is
yeah,
now extra important that should be an example about just being a good person, living a healthy life, and that kind of speak, and through also the internet, speaking about the right things. But I think it's super important just to be honest, like it's like the simple things, we don't want to hear, that we actually, like, deep down we always know what to do, right? That's just how it is, we can listen to like the divine, or like your intuition or religion, whatever you want to call it, right? But
Yeah.
you always kind of know what you have to do if you're being honest with yourself. But if you're getting distracted all the time, you can never listen to that inner voice in yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is that technology now is going, way out of hands.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it's designed to keep us hooked to it, right? Because blue light is addictive. Like a human is designed to be addicted to blue light because blue light actually makes us addicted to nature. So the thing is that actually blue light is not necessarily harmful. Natural blue light is not harmful. Artificial blue light we know is harmful.
Yeah.
But the way it's designed is designed to keep us hooked to being outside, right? It's basically raising our dopamine. And so when you remove the artificial dopamine away, and that's the only form of blue light you are getting throughout the day, now your dopamine is dropping below baseline, and now you feel like you need to re-grab your phone to fulfill your dopamine needs. So you're in this dopamine roller coaster. So that's what it's about right now. We are in a dopamine battle, and we need to be able to break out of that dopamine battle and to earn our dopamine and not get it through cheap sources like through porn, through like eating artificial foods, through eating, for like consuming like toxic things in all the ways, listening, watching, eating, because your diet is not only what you eat, it's every aspect of your life. And so if you want to actually be healthy, you need to be extremely careful, and you need to work on earning your dopamine. And what are the things that make you earn your dopamine? Well, it's the hard things. When you do something hard, you get rewarded for doing that hard thing after it's accomplished, right? So you feel good after you've done it. So when you've done an ice bath and it was tough, you feel good with yourself. Or when you've done sauna and it was really hot and you managed to endure it, you feel good. When you've done a great workout and it was brutal, you feel good. So this is what you call earned dopamine. And dopamine doesn't have to be like this quick, release molecule. It comes and crashes back down, because if we do that, we always chase the cheap sources and the easy sources. And now it's easier than ever to have access to cheap dopamine, as I call it. So we can get in this very vicious cycle. But I wanted to go back to the royal jelly, because I think it's important for everyone to know why is it so beneficial for us? What are some things that some of your customers have noticed and yourself noticed of using it?
I mean, what is royal jelly exactly? I think I need to explain it so it's more concrete. Royal jelly is like from the gland, from the bee larvae. So let's say you have like a bee that's going to, or like a bee egg that's like in the hive, like that. You have like the little kind of like the yolk, like the egg, and around that you have like the royal jelly. So the queen bee is only getting fed the royal jelly, and like the worker bees in the beehive, they get it fed from the flowers when they're collecting from the flowers, and they also get like raw honey from the honeycomb. So the queen is only going to fed the royal jelly. That's also why she's twice as big as a normal bee. She lives 20 times longer than a worker bee. She lives up to 5 years, where a worker bee lives a couple of months. And her job is also to lay 3,000 eggs a day as the queen. And the worker bee is actually sterile. So many people think it's because the queen bee is just born a queen, but it's actually through, you can see her lifestyle and diet through epigenetics. So she's born like a completely normal bee, but when she's only getting fed the royal jelly, when they pick the queen bee, that's why she gets all like these benefits. And that's why it can correlate it to also having an increase in fertility in women, libido in men, and just overall energy. Also have a lot of subjects about healing eczema. Also amazing for the skin because it has all these vitamins and enzymes inside of it. So you can kind of like say it's like honey on steroid in a way. So it is also like more like a premium product compared to like a honey. But I definitely say like the reviews we've been getting has been crazy. Like people saying that never felt more alive with the product and just having more energy throughout the day. And I know there's so many products, they say you get better energy and all these things, but what we've been hearing is actually like people that have been experiencing it. And I can also attest myself that that was also the case for me because I wouldn't like put my name on anything I didn't really truly believe in, and it's a natural thing, that that's like, I think we have over like 1,000 studies on the royal jelly through the past, so it's been clinically tested as well in placebo groups and different ages and inactive males, non-active males, different ages, like what is the benefit exactly. So there's a lot of benefits showing fertility rates, the libido, testosterone increase in a measurable time frame. So there's definitely some amazing benefits to it.
That's really cool. Yeah, I did some research on it, and I was really fascinated by the fact that it's such a great and complete like food source for the bees, and that makes sense that it would be so beneficial for us as well because it comes complete with all the peptides, the enzymes, like the vitamins, the minerals. It comes like perfectly balanced, with proteins, fats, and carbs. So it's kind of like a complete. It's almost like breast milk, right? For the bees.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. Like, it's like breast milk in a way in a bee form.
Yeah, and there is something to be said about bees in general. Don't you find that there is this like connection and this resonance with bees? I don't know if it's just like me, but every time when I'm around bees and even just I hear, their hive and they're buzzing around, just their buzzing and their vibration that I hear from their wings and their bodies, it calms me down instantly. And there is actually, I've read somewhere as well that there is this therapy that you can do where you lay inside of this box and that you lay on top of the beehives, and the bees basically, their vibration and their smell, it helps to put you into a deep parasympathetic state. So there is something clearly going on there on a metaphysical level.
Yeah, that's also, they say like beekeepers, they're also like the people that live the longest.
Oh, really?
I think it's because like through the diet they consume probably a lot of honey, but I also think it's because of the vibration,
Yes.
And just think about how they produce the honey, like the shape of like the hexagon,
Yes.
And all these things, how they orchestrate themselves is like truly like crazy thing about how they can construct a whole, like it's a super complex, environment and hierarchy they develop, and for them it's just intuitively and it works perfectly. So again, we couldn't not live without the bees, the work they do. So it is just like a you can see like a natural like a way of like producing the things and just in harmony with nature.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just so incredible, everything that they do and they create from like from the comb that they create to all the produce that they make. It's all divinely perfect for their own little home, but they're also able to like give off to us as well, So where do you source your royal jelly? It comes from Denmark itself?
Yeah, we source it now from Denmark. We have like a good relationship with a beekeeper. I live in a city called Aarhus, so we have one in a part of the called Sjælland, close to the capital of Copenhagen, where we get the royal jelly source from. So we are very lucky we got a good supplier for it.
That's cool. And I noticed that that basically the royal jelly, when it's put in the comb, like there is the larvae in there, like isn't that like, how do they make sure that the larvae is like not killed, or is it like a procedure where it doesn't really matter, has the larvae already died, or how do they do it?
We got told that all supplier or like all business partner, they actually have like the equipment. So that's also why many people can't harvest it, because if you just harvest the royal jelly, you actually kill the larvae. So what they do is actually take the larvae out and put it in like in a new shell, so they can get the royal jelly back into it. So they take the larvae out and scoop out the royal jelly without killing the larvae.
So the bees actually replace the royal jelly that they lost.
Exactly.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. So it is like a delicate process, and you also have to store the royal jelly in a cold environment, in a fridge or something like that, so it can last for a long time. Yeah. Because it is like a living food, so you can't just store it like in the sun. So we also recommend from our customers to store it like in the fridge if you have the possibility, or like in a dry and cold environment if you want to have it to last for a long time. It can last up to like 12 months if you store it correctly.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like raw honey, right? That you can keep it for more than 100 years or more, if you keep it sealed and closed, because it's perfectly balanced with all the enzymes. It's antimicrobial, antibacterial, right? All of this good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think I heard something about honey can kind of like stay. You can eat it forever. It can stay good forever.
Yeah,
It's
I can imagine. I mean, I would taste it. You know, if somebody offered me honey from 100 years ago, just think about this fact. Before there was all the industrial chemicals, everything in the environment. Now that some bees probably like pick up, right? Because, well, what can we do? This is the world that we live on, right? So there is going to be some residue, unfortunately, even in like natural products. But imagine like bees back then, how awesome they were, you know, and how they were so much more primal than the bees now, or more optimal, let's say.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a good way to put it. Just like the environment was just different back then, you know. So it
Yeah,
would make sense. It was a different kind of
I bet
honey.
it would be so potent, you know, you'd probably like, you know, have some superpowers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, also they said like the Egyptian kings, they took the royal jelly,
Yeah.
and Cleopatra, like the beauty queen of those times, also took the royal jelly, and actually also the Queen Elizabeth from England also took royal jelly, and she got pretty old as well. So again, it is not like a new thing. It's been around for a long time, but I think because of like it's so hard, it's so exclusive to get. It's been hard to find like a good trusted manufacturer or like a good company
Yeah.
to deliver. So that's also why it's super important for us. We have like the highest quality product as possible. We also have like in a little, you get it like in a glass jar with like a little wooden spoon. You take it with. So there's also like when you take it the royal jelly with like a wooden spoon, you don't kill the enzymes, because if you actually take it with metal, it can actually kill some of the enzymes. So
That's very interesting.
yeah.
So it somehow reacts, the metal somehow reacts with the enzymes, and it kind of kills it off.
Exactly. I mean,
Interesting.
again, it doesn't hurt if you do it with a normal spoon, but we just want to make sure that the customers
Yeah.
got like a
Yeah, why
dosing.
not, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool, very cool. And so tell me a little bit about, are you working on any other projects at the moment, or do you have anything else coming out for raw royal jelly?
Yeah, for now, we actually have a lot of products in development right now. I really like to just like be in the stage of developing new, like kind of like innovative products. So we are working on a lot of products. I can maybe disclose some of them, but we're working right now for a long time, actually, like a couple of months, 3-4 months, on some tallow balm with the royal jelly and honey, which I'm really excited for to release, and some other things, some soaps and
Is it edible?
almost, you can say, the soap. It maybe be a bit sour, but it's
No,
definitely
I
like
mean the tallow bomb, the tallow bomb.
you can cook, but you can do everything in it.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's something that I want to tell you about. I want to talk with you about is that I'm a very big believer in, because the skin is, one of our largest organs of our body, right? And people don't realize that our digestive system doesn't end at our mouth, because you know how the digestive system begins at the mouth, right? But it's basically one hole. It goes out and it keeps running on the outside of your body, the skin. It's just a mucous membrane on the inside, which is like moist and watery, and on the outside is dry. But your digestive tract is literally on your skin, right? So basically everything is connected and everything gets absorbed into your system. So why would you put something on your body that you wouldn't put in your mouth? Because it's going to go in your bloodstream, it's going to go in your lymphatic system, and that could potentially cause problems down the line. So I love it that you are creating products which are edible, but you actually are designed to be put externally, because this is literally what you would say food for the skin, right?
Exactly. Like we only going to make the highest quality products that we're going to release. That's also it takes a time for us to develop, and also we want to make sure it's actually some products we can like that's a big need for. So I think right now there's a big trend with the tallow balm. I think that's amazing. But as we've been seeing in studies about royal jelly, also it's amazing for the skin. We want to do like the best possible cream you can do. And also again, there's so many guys struggling with like not being able to lose their hair for some reason at like a pretty young age, and stuff like that. So we just want to develop something that actually can help regrow your hair, because it is possible through also like herbs we're going to add, and all these things, and also the red light therapy actually showing to help regrow your hair. So we really just want to make sure the formulation is perfect, so we can deliver the best products on the market.
Amazing, amazing. And apart from raw, do you have anything else planned? Like, are you working on any other project, or is this like the only thing that you are working on right now?
Yes. Right now, I have actually some other products also in the process. So next month we're going to release a new brand called Nanobright. It's going to be a natural toothpaste, going to use like all natural products. So it's going to be like xylitol, how do you pronounce it in English? Like hydroxynate, something like that, like a remineralizing substance. Vitamin K2, MK7 is going to be inside of it. Activated charcoal to whiten the teeth. Coconut oil for the antibacterial as well. And some magnesiums also to remineralize, and some tea tree oil also to give a bit of like a nice fresh flavor. And the brand is going to be called Nanobright, so we're going to release that next month. Also been in the process, and then I'm also working on another company with a good friend of mine called Duft. So the brand means scent in English. So it's going to be all again 100% natural fragrances with no chemicals inside. So it's
Amazing.
actually going to be good for you. So we're going to release first like a roll-on cologne you can use on your neck and on your sweat area, so you can smell nice without just poisoning yourself with alcohols and chemicals, so you don't get the dry skin.
Exactly. Yeah, endocrine disruptors.
Yeah.
This world is so filled with all of this stuff that we don't need any more like artificial or fake brands coming out there. Unfortunately, they are coming out all the time because now with the
Fortunately, yeah.
introduction of AI, we can, build a brand, from scratch, just like this, and we can put, in artificial chemicals, whatever is cheap, and you just profit from that and make, good advertising, and that's it. And people fall for it, and this is why it's so important that brands like you, that you are creating brands that are more natural and holistic, and you are thinking about it from like the entirety of it. Like you are literally protecting the consumer, because you are making sure that you are not only creating a brand which is actually going to be nice. For example, I would wish if I had a perfume or cologne that actually smelled good, which would be natural. I don't own any because I don't use any of that stuff. And so the thing is that it would be nice to have something that I know wouldn't be toxic, and that also doesn't smell like for 72 hours after, because if it does, that means that it's it's totally artificial, right? Because natural scents not naturally evaporate from your skin. And so this is the beauty of like nature. People need to start to discern and to really analyze what do they actually put inside of their body, but also on their body as well.
Yeah, and I just think, as we also talked about earlier, that people are kind of like, waking up to like the natural living way of living. So I think all these, you see like more holistic health brands, they're actually kind of growing pretty rapidly because there is just a need, and people are just kind of realizing, okay, maybe you don't need to wear the polyester, and just use all the chemicals for your hair, like the deodorants, or maybe not eating like plastic foods, like or like eating chemical foods, So I definitely think, and I see in also my own life, that people are getting more interested like in a natural way of living. So I really think the tables are kind of turning, slowly, because when you inside of the change, it feels kind of slow. But I definitely think after like everything we experienced like a couple of years ago, it's like the pendulum is kind of like swinging to the other way. So that's awesome to see, honestly.
Yeah, I think that is true what you're saying, because I mean, think about you and me, right? Like I'm only 28 years old, and you are, how old are you?
Free.
Yeah, so you see, like we are pretty young, and we are teaching and preaching this message about holistic living. In the past, it would be individuals who are, 60, 70 years old sharing this message on podcasts that I currently listen to, with those wise individuals, and I'm still currently learning all the time. And even from you, I can learn a lot of things, even though you're younger than me, because maybe you have got into this space even like more years than me, right? So this is the beautiful thing, is that as we are actually as the world is going and the information is more available now online at access at our fingertips, we can actually educate ourselves. So it's a choice whether we are going to do something about it or we are going to be ignorant about it. And so it's very important that we decide on in which camp we are in. And if we are going to be ignorant about it, then you can't say that no one didn't tell you, like, because the information was already there and it was always there. But the thing is that it's all about taking ownership and responsibility of your health. And I'm sure that you totally
100%.
agree about this, right?
Yeah, and as you said, it's like taking an active choice. That's just how it is right now. Like living healthy is not like the easiest option, so you have to do some work. But as you also said before about the light environment, you can do these things, and you maybe, yes, it will be a bit costly up front. But when you have fixed the lighting and you are able to get some good source of foods, it's kind of like just like a one-time fix, and then it's just like the new normal. You could just get some red light glasses. There's many good brands out there. So again, it takes some thought, it takes some learning, but when you have the things down, I would say it's not too hard to live healthy. Just get the also like the natural clothing. It also lasts longer, For example, there's many brands out there. For example, Solbro has a nice brand called Soul Apparel. I think they just made like a relaunch for some cotton shorts and other nice organic clothing. So there is definitely like alternatives out there. You just have to be aware and take action, and you will figure it out, I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all about starting with the lowest hanging fruit, whatever that is for every individual, right? For me, like when I started, my journey began, my actual journey, before I even got into holistic health, just in general fitness, traditional fitness. That was when I was 14 and I was overweight. I was an obese child. That's what actually drove me to start my journey. So the only
Great.
thing I cared about really was training and nutrition, because that's the only thing I knew. So 7 years down the line, when I met my partner Tina, that's when I started to learn that there is so much more to health and fitness than just exercising and eating right. And even what I was eating wasn't the most optimal thing, because it was like this traditional bodybuilding chicken, rice, and broccoli, and it wasn't even like local, it wasn't organic, there was none of that thought into that. But I thought I was doing the right thing then, and it served me until that point, and I managed to lose the weight. I built a good physique. So I guess everybody has to start from somewhere, but it's nicer that if they don't need to go 7 years like myself without realizing that there are other areas to health than just training and nutrition. So we've got circadian rhythms, so it's not only about all the things that you can do, but all of the things that you need to remove from your life. Because you know how we talk about, we all talk about, adding things into our life, but no one is talking about removing things from your life. So we need to remove toxic relationships, remove toxic chemicals from the home, remove blue light, remove non-native EMFs. We need to have fresh air in our home. We need to remove things, because those things, without us realizing, are placing a stress on our body. And the more we can empty our stress bucket, the more resilient we can be, and we can have more space to be able to accept more stress from life.
Yeah. And all of these things, they're actually free. Like getting fresh air, getting grounding. If you have access to the ocean, take a dip, go to a gym, has a sauna. It doesn't cost too much. So if you're able to do these things, like the investment is also like the most important in yourself, right? And everything comes from you. So, I mean, yeah. And also I saw your transformation and really it was crazy. I didn't know you was like an overweight kid. And I just thought like, this can't be true, Like your whole face looked different. Everything was just like, damn. So I think that's a crazy, one of the craziest transformation I've ever seen, honestly.
Well, I wouldn't consider it as crazy, but you should probably check out on that thread that I wrote on X. Like, when I made one purposeful bulk during my bodybuilding days, I went from 68 kilos all the way up to 95 kilos. And then that was in a period of probably 6 months. So I had gained a lot of weight. I had gained a lot of fat as well. And my face was round and my whole body, but I had gained a substantial amount of muscle as well. And so when I leaned back down, and it took me only 4 months approximately, and I got back down to 68 kilos, the exact same weight that I was before, but my body was completely different. It looked completely different because I had gained so much muscle mass. And the people in the gym were like, whoa, like, what are you taking? Like, what steroids are you taking? I'm like, I'm not taking anything. I just worked my ass off. I bulked up. It was a true suffering while I was bulking up, because I never looked down during that period of time, for the reason being that if I did, I would go crazy, to accept the fact that you have purposely made yourself fat, purposefully. And so after when I was losing the weight and I started to see my abs again, I was like, thank God. But yeah, it's if you know what you're doing, it's a fun journey for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, it just shows everything is possible, right? I mean, it's just it's crazy what the body are able to do, and and the mind as well. So I think that's just inspiring to see that you've actually been through it, yourself. That's leading from the front. I think that's the way to do it.
What's inspiring for me is yourself, like, because you have built yourself all these different brands. you're coming up with your own clothing brand, you're coming up with your own perfume brand, coming up with the raw brand with all the other bee related products, which are incredible. And like I use the raw royal jelly myself, and I've noticed myself like really good increase in energy levels. And I have to say I've tried other raw royal jellies in the past. I mean, yeah, raw royal jelly. I know your brand is called raw royal jelly, but it was raw.
But I know what you
So
mean. Yeah,
so basically, yeah, I didn't get the same effects, and I noticed a big difference with your brand. I don't know, it's like higher in enzymatic activity. I definitely feel it when I put it in my mouth, and I get an instant like energy boost. So for sure, from day one already, I noticed a massive difference in how I felt. So I can for sure say that your brand is legit.
yeah. That's glad to hear. I mean, we say that to really feel the effects, it would take normally for people a couple of weeks before they can feel
Yeah,
something. You also have people saying, like kind of like 1-2 days after, they can also already feel like
yeah,
increase in
yeah.
libido
Uh-huh.
or energy. So it's
Uh-huh.
great to hear. It's
Yeah,
awesome to hear.
I guess because I'm so like in tune with my body, right? Because I'm very much like I practice a lot of like breath work, meditation, and a lot of like mindfulness. And this is so important, I believe, because that allows you to feel how you feel when you take some substance, right? And I try to feel. You see, a lot of times we try to judge a certain feeling before we have it, like to expect something. And that's the wrong way to go about things, because if we truly want to experience something, we just need to observe like different sensations in our body, rather like how does my brain feel after taking it? How does my skin feel? How does my heart rate feel? Like, does it give me some weird feelings I haven't felt like before?
Yeah,
And I can identify all of those. So sometimes, when I take something, I might get like maybe weird feeling on the skin, or feel that you get like a subtle vibration throughout your whole body. And if you don't pay attention to that, you think that nothing is happening and that it's like useless. But clearly it's having some, whether that's biological or metaphysical spiritual effect, because think about it, our body is electromagnetic, right? Like the sun is electromagnetic, the earth is electromagnetic, we are electromagnetic beings. And so we are not, our physical body is not all that there is,
yeah,
right? And so basically we can get impacted by electromagnetic fields, and every single thing in nature has, let's say, a signature, an electromagnetic signature. And this is why I love bee products, because you can tell by the way that they construct their hive, and everything that they do is sacred, because there is sacred geometry found in everything that they do.
yeah.
And just alone their shape, staring at the shape, smelling like what they do, or taking what they do, can give you that frequency, that vibration, which can alter your state of being on a spiritual level and on a vibrational level, which can impact you on a physical level, because we are electromagnetic beings, and that impacts us, both ways.
Absolutely. I mean, that's you said it very beautifully. I couldn't really put it any better myself. So yeah, I think it's just awesome to hear that there's so many people out there like you and me that actually really, first off, they actually also walk the walk. They don't just talk the talk. And it's pretty easy to dissect. When people just talking about the things, but they don't look healthy. But at
Yeah,
this modern time, you also want to listen to people that also look healthy. You don't want to
yeah,
listen to the doctor just because he had like a long PhD, but he looks overweight, and there's a mismatch there. So now it's like
yeah.
guys leading like you from the front, which I think is also like the, the way, of course, to go about things always.
Yeah. Well, we are part of the revolution, so let's go,
Uh,
brother. Well, I think that was a really great conversation, and thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
enjoy
And
it.
where can people find you? Where can they reach out to you?
Magnus Vigsoe on not on YouTube right now, but Instagram and X. That's where I'm most active. And if you want to check out Royal Jelly, you can check on Instagram, Raw Royal Jelly, and rawroyaljelly.com if you want to look at our site. And you can just DM me if you have any questions about Royal Jelly or some other training things or whatever. I'm always open to connect with people.
Awesome, awesome, Magnus. Yeah, so everybody, you'll find all his details in the description below, all the links, and
Yeah,
you'll find a special discount as well to his raw royal jelly. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Magnus.
you too, bro. Thank you so much. Let's do it again one time.
Awesome.